What is up, everybody? We are Why So Sidious. We have a special guest today. This is Tyler from Theory in the Lab at Theory in the Lab on TikTok. I've been watching this dude since before I created content. That's an honest statement right there. So, really kind of fun to have you on here, dude. And how are you?
I'm doing great, man. I really appreciate you guys having me on here, and yeah, it is kind of funny. I feel like we've been interacting for the
Few
years that we
years.
both been on TikTok. Now we've just been going back and forth for a while, so it's probably overdue at this point.
Right on. Yeah. Really appreciate you coming on, dude. Excited to talk. We're going to get into the DCU a little bit, kind of see where we're at now, and then look forward to the future and see what kind of expectations we have with the projects coming out. That'll be after our real quick top three Marvel or DC movies or series. And after that, we're going to do a lot of Avengers Doomsday talk. So that's kind of the big hype for the nerd world for the next year. And we'll dig deep into that. We got Andy, we got myself, Jeremy, and we have David coming on later. But for now, we are at Why So Sidious Pod at TikTok, Instagram, X. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the good stuff. So check us out and give Theory in the Lab a follow. Great content covering the Marvel and DC movie stuff. A lot of great shorts, very informative, just quality content there. All
Definitely
right.
appreciate
And
that.
to start it off, just to get to know you a little bit, what are your top three Marvel movies and DC movies or shows if you want to put them in there?
Yeah. I guess starting with Marvel, first one that comes to mind is Blade 2.
Ooh.
Blade. Yeah, I watched that at a real young age, and that kind of started me in the whole thing. Number two, I probably gotta say Winter Soldier. It's
Mm,
the first thing
solid.
that really locked me into the MCU world. And then I gotta go with Infinity War at number three because it feels such like a comic book event movie, and it's just the payoff of like what 10 years of cinema. So just for them to pull something like that off is
Big
awesome.
time.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so Andy is kind of a new member of our podcast, officially, anyways. He's been on a ton of episodes, but we've never really gotten like your top three MCU, DCU movies. As far as I go, we have a whole top, basically a top 100 for the MCU movies where we count down all of our favorite movies. So you can go check that out for me. But Andy, for Marvel, what is the three best movies?
It's a hard one because obviously you put series on there, and I did say to you that I was like trying to think non-linear by having both on there because if you include series, then my top three changes. But if we're talking about films, then it is essentially the big three, which is probably no surprise. Of three would be Infinity War for me. I think when you talk about Infinity War Endgame, Infinity War is the better standalone film, but Endgame is the culmination of everything that came before it, and so for me holds more emotional weight. Whilst the emotional weight of Infinity War is amazing because of the stakes, because of the fact that the villain wins at the end and we got the snap, but the emotional weight of Endgame of everything coming together, like the supposed end of the Big Six, even though that seems to not really be the case anymore. But so to me, Infinity War fits in at number three. I think Winter Soldier does fit in at number two. That was my number one for a long time, but I think the more we've got past Endgame and the more I've been able to assess it, the more Endgame hits number one for me because of, like I said, it's the culmination of everything, the emotional weight of everything coming together, and just the end of it all. So yeah, those are my top three for films.
Right on. Yeah, mine is such a nerdy, like, it's not the best films. It's just, you know how people complain maybe too many Easter eggs, too many connection, too many crossovers, too many. Dude, I'm like on the opposite side of that spectrum. I love the spectacle. I love the connectivity. So I end up just Avengers 1, Avengers 3, Avengers 4. Basically, like my favorite Marvel movies. They're just so well done. This spectacle, everyone's coming together. It's all done so well. But that's just for Marvel. Anyway, Tyler, DC movies. This is where it gets interesting.
Oh yeah, it's diversifies a lot more. Uh, the first one that comes from mind is always Dark Knight, and kind of seems like the easy go to, but that was like the first movie that I watched growing up where I was like, this is a masterpiece. So that movie has just always really stuck with me, and I feel like Heath Ledger's performance alone is probably the best adaptation you can ever get for the Joker, as far as live action goes. And then might kind of feel like a cop out, but right after that, I got to kind of go the other side of the coin with the Batman. Like as good of a movie as The Dark Knight is, it's more than anything, just a great movie, but not the best Batman adaptation. While Matt Reeves is the Batman, Robert Pattinson playing Bruce Wayne, like that is an amazing Batman adaptation. And then at number 3, I gotta say Superman from '78. Like the way Christopher Reeves can
Classic.
embody, yeah, exactly. Like even just like that one scene specifically where you literally see him go from Clark Kent, morph into Superman, and then like shrink back down into Clark Kent. Like that is just the best physical representation of that like you can ever do. It's so classic.
Okay, so if we say Man of Steel versus James Gunn's Superman, which one do you pick?
I'm going. I love Henry Cavill, but I'm going James Gunn's Superman.
Okay.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, I would have gone Man of Steel, to be honest.
Dude,
I think only just though, like only just.
Yeah. It's I mean, like it's close. There's some great things from that movie. I'm kind of critical of like Zack Snyder in general. He's just like and like deservingly so in some cases, but he's one of the directors that just doesn't work for me. And like his writing choices sometimes, it's just you could have got more creative with that, man. And just like the meme moment of Kevin Costner just walking into the tornado.
I hate it. I was gonna say like there are some dumb moments in Man of Steel, if I'm honest, and that is one of them. Like it is definitely one of them.
And too many flashbacks in general.
Yeah.
I felt like we got the point halfway through the movie, but they kept doing flashbacks to his past. And I was like, I get it.
Flashback trope is just
I'm surprised he didn't turn the bit where Kevin Costner's about to be swept away by the hurricane into a slow-mo scene. Because that's just Zack Snyder all over. That would have been that would have been the Zack Snyder stamp on there right then.
A surprising lack of slow-mo for sure. Yeah. for a Snyder film.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just digs a little deeper, I think, than the James Gunn Superman. I think overall that movie's better, but the Man of Steel, like Zod and their conflict, it just got a little deeper, a little more intense, a little more edge of your seat, which is not necessarily what people look for when they look at Superman. You know, they kind of look for the more hopeful, optimistic show like that we got from James Gunn's, and it was still good. Yeah, still good, but man, they're both really close.
Yeah, that's a really good point because I feel like Man of Steel is a like much grittier, deeper dive into Superman himself, while like the James Gunn version is more of a deeper dive into like the society around him and how like kind of the world is perceiving him and how he's like balancing that out. And yeah, the overseas conflict and that long scene where Lois Lane is interviewing him, I think is a great epitome of that.
Yeah. All right, Andy. Super curious. What are your 3 favorites? Which, by the way, Dark Knight and the Batman were on mine as well. So
I'm going to throw some spanners in the works here because I have no live action films in my top 3 DC ratings.
I thought about this.
So in third place for me is actually season 1 of the Flash TV show. You go back like 10, 11 years, and I admittedly back then I used to smoke a lot of weed, and I used to sit and watch like Arrow, The Flash, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., that sort of stuff, like at 2, 3 in the morning when it had just finished airing in America. And I used to get on and I used to download it, and I used to sit there texting my friends who were doing the same, like sitting at home with a joint and just watch it. And I would season 1. I know there's a lot of like villain of the week stuff and things like that, but the storyline of like where they go with that, with the reverse Flash in there and the reveal of who he is down to the final battle in the finale episode. For me, it's for superhero TV, it's one of the best seasons of any of those shows. And I absolutely adore it so much.
As corny as it is, it's still really somehow good. It does capture the magic of Flash. First, the reverse Flash and the mystery on who it was the whole time. It's pretty solid.
Especially with JD, you know how much of a like reverse Flash fan I am as well. So this sits in there for top 3 for me. But speaking of the same characters, at number 2 for me, the animated Flashpoint movie. I think the animated Flashpoint movie almost does it better than the comic. In the way that you then get to visualize it. I know some people are like a little bit critical of like the style of the animation, like almost like your bulkier, like musclier characters in a way, but I think the way that it goes through this and the way that it tells a story is almost better than the comic. And it's definitely on a par with it, if not like just above it. So for me, that really does sit in there. And then number one for me is Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Obviously, the one that was set between sort of series 1 and 2 of the original animated series. Obviously, Mark Hamill coming in there as the Joker as well. Like the noir feel to it, the emotional weight behind Batman, who wants to have a happy life, but is like has to sort of live up to his parents wanting him to like avenge their death and stuff, and the choice that he gives up of having a happy life to become Batman, and the emotional weight that's carried through that film, just for me and the DC level, just sits it at the top. It does it much better for me than like the Christopher Nolan trilogy did, for example, on that weight of things.
So straight up, those are above Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I am not saying anyway that The Dark Knight is a bad. I know it's generally considered to be one of, if not like the best live action comic book movie of all time. But I also think because of the weight of the praise it receives, it almost makes it slightly overrated at the same point, because it's so heavily praised up there that these films actually sit higher on my personal list. I feel more connected to those films, and I sit with the emotional weight of those films better than I do like The Dark Knight and Nolan's version.
Yeah, right on.
I mean, yeah, as much as I love Christopher Nolan and that whole trilogy, it's adaptation wise especially, it is not a perfect trilogy like whatsoever. Like there are some flaws to it, especially if you are really digging into like the comic accuracy of it all. So it's one of those examples. I have the same opinion for like Thor Ragnarok. Like it by itself is a great movie, and like Ragnarok is a bad Thor movie, especially like in the MCU. And like it's kind of the same way with Dark Knight. Like great movie in general, imperfect Batman movie.
Yeah, he doesn't necessarily portray Christian Bale. I'm talking about Batman perfectly, or the portrayal in that movie isn't necessarily very comic accurate. It's, in my opinion, a little more robotic. I mean, he just aesthetically, he looks kind of bulky and plastic. Like, Batman, it's the sneaky shadows, ninja stuff. It's the detective stuff, which some of that you missed out on. And just like Christian Bale did a great Bruce Wayne, I'll give him that. But the Batman itself it wasn't ripped out of the comics for me. Whereas Ben Affleck, I think he was closer to the comic book Batman, even if his movies weren't as good.
Yeah.
And just a note, Christian Bale went to the same school that I did. I mean, well older than me. I wasn't there at the same time he was, or anything like that. But just out of interest, he went to the same school as me.
That is cool. Right on. Dude, that's crazy. So I guess high school in the UK for Christian Bale, huh?
Yeah.
Is he British? He's from there. Huh?
He is British, yeah.
I would bring that up in every conversation.
Yeah. Where do you stand on Ben Affleck versus Christian Bale as far as Batman portrayals, Tyler?
I'm still going Christian Bale like all day. But I don't necessarily fully blame Ben Affleck for that. Like, I think a lot of that is the writing, and this like started being like the first really big red flag for me in Zack Snyder's writing. Like, he even had that interview. He's like, well, how does Batman not kill people? Like, you put him in a warehouse full of guys with guns. How does he not kill people there? And I'm like, dude, like, there's thousands of examples of how he gets out of that situation. Like, let's brainstorm. Yeah, let's brainstorm some ideas of how he gets out of that situation. Let's put a little more work into the writing. So I think that was the big point for me. But like as far as the suit goes, like as far as him like jumping into the action, like definitely much more comic accurate for sure. But like, again, he doesn't really have the detective side of him, which is, I think, the huge reason I fell in love with the Batman movie, because it's like, oh my God, the world's greatest detective is finally being a detective. Right. And we haven't seen that for years.
So with Reeves, like Detective Batman, I'm glad that they did it like a Detective Batman. But at the same time, if you compare like the mystery itself and the detective work it took to deduce who the murderer is, if you compare that with like a Knives Out or maybe a Seven, I feel like they could write a better, like a more cleverly genius Detective Batman, because it's like he wasn't exactly deducing it. Like, he wasn't portraying a super genius that's figuring it all out. The answers kind of came to him. They're kind of convenient. Love the movie. Like I said, it's one of my top threes, but I'm still waiting for that. Like the way that the James Bond actor did that in Knives Out. Like the way he deduced everything was so clever and well written, and I really want that out of Batman, where you're just like, oh my god, that's so smart that that he figured it out. That'll portray that genius detective.
Yeah, I even wonder if that's like feasible in a movie, or if it would have to be like a TV show, because like if you're focusing on the detective part of like Batman, like you can really focus on that, spend most of the time in the movie, but at the end of the day, you're still watching a Batman movie, and you want to see him hit somebody and like get into a fight.
Of course.
And if you're watching Knives Out, like you're not waiting for Benoit to punch somebody in the face. So
Right.
they do have that advantage there, at least. So that would be a really, really tough balance to pull off effectively.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, that brings you to my top three, which is not a popular opinion. So I got the Batman and the Dark Knight, but that rounds it out with the full Snyder cut of Batman vs Superman. I still love it. I don't know it with the full cut, specifically not the theatrical version. So I thought it was really cool. I still enjoy rewatching it. It is not perfect by any means, not even close, but it is just fun enough that I do really enjoy watching that one.
It is fun. It is really fun.
But it's hard because the new Superman and Man of Steel are neck and neck for fourth place, I guess. And if we're doing series, Peacemaker season 1 is right there as well.
That was surprising. Because he wasn't. The movie was entertaining for James Gunn's Suicide Squad, but he wasn't necessarily a standout for me. And I was like, man, I don't know if John Cena can carry an entire series on his back, but it was surprisingly well done.
Yeah. All right, well, that does it for our top threes over there. Next, we're going to talk about some upcoming projects from the DCU and kind of overall thoughts on what we've seen so far and what we can expect from the future. There's the Image. We got Lantern, Supergirl, and Clayface, our most immediate releases coming out within the next year or so. After that, we got Brave and the Bold and Swamp Thing. Andy, out of these three, Lanterns, Supergirl, and Clayface, which one excites you most? I'm guessing I already know the answer.
Lanterns.
Yeah. Is that across the board?
By quite a distance, to be fair.
Okay, Tyler?
It's neck and neck for the number one spot, but for number one, I got to go Clayface.
Oh, nice. Okay. To get a look into the Gotham. I'm really excited for Clayface. It's such a unique way to kind of introduce the Gotham corner of this new DCU. We've seen the bright, optimistic, happy corner in Metropolis. Now we're going to get down to the gritty, dark Gotham, and we're starting with such just an obscure villain. Yeah. Not a household name whatsoever, but they got to have a reason for all that. Regardless, I think it's exciting. I think his character is really cool. You could do a lot with him. I don't know. Have you read the Clayface One Bad Day comics?
I haven't read the solo Clayface comics yet, but I know he's got a very interesting history, and the writer behind the project is Mike Flanagan, who was behind Dr. Sleep, Haunting of Hill House, Midnight Mass. So with something that has like this dark, broody potential, I fully trust Mike to write a project like that, and especially since apparently James Gunn happened to read it and then loved it so much he greenlit it immediately.
Yeah, as a sucker for lore and the interconnectivity, I'm really happy they're going to develop Gotham through the POV of a villain first. I like the idea of building up Batman in the background as a legend, and we'll see him eventually. But I'm down to see all of his B and C list villains, because surely we'll get a handful of C list villains, maybe a B list villain or two, maybe even a main villain. So I'm just so excited to just get a look into that corner of the DCU. Since we're talking about Clayface already, what's like the deep cut villain, like either one of you, like the C list villain from his rogues gallery that either one of you would want to see pop up there? Good question, Andy. What do you got?
Oh, I'm sure we talked about this before. It's a tough one. Oh, because you obviously the main ones have been done so often. You want to go somewhere a little bit different. At the same point, I really don't know actually when it comes to that, because there's such a good rogues gallery there that you could pick from, but you don't want to go cliche. I think Two-Face would be a really good one for me to have up there. The complex character of both sides of that, especially coming into this universe where they're trying to match up so much stuff, and we don't know really what to expect from the tone of the DCU yet for that side of it. So I think that could be quite a good one to throw in there.
I think I want to go with the Black Glove. Are you familiar with that one?
Oh, yeah. Not as much as Black Mask, but
Right. Black
I've seen him here
Glove.
and
So
there.
very kind of a very Court of Owls ish, which of course Court of Owls would be great too. But yeah, he was involved with Grant Morrison when Damian came to comics for the first time, and he was very much a systematic, destroy Batman's life kind of villain. I want to say that he tried to say he was Thomas Wayne for the longest time and stuff like that, but that'd be a cool little C-lister because there's a lot going on with the Black Glove. But it's a great question. Do you have one in mind?
The immediate one for me was Rama Tut. Just like see him losing it within Arkham Asylum would be a really cool scene.
I'm not actually familiar with Rama Tut as a Batman villain.
Yeah, he's just this guy who I think it depends on the iteration whether he's quite literally possessed by the Egyptian Rama the Tut, but he believes it either way in either iteration, and he's just like this very fully Egyptian style villain. Like everything is deeply coded in that, and he's trying to conquer Gotham because he thinks he should be emperor of it.
Nice. Hell yeah. Who do you think will be the villain in The Brave and the Bold?
I really like the Two-Face idea because we've really only gotten that live action in The Dark Knight, and it was like a very kind of straightforward, not very like bipolar kind of version of Two-Face, and I really want to see a character really leaning into that split duality. So I think he's a big enough villain that you could use him as a debut for something like Brave and the Bold.
Yeah. Ra's al Ghul has always been my thought for Brave and the Bold, especially because they're doing Damian Wayne, and Ra's al Ghul also hasn't been done on the big screen very accurately. He played, Liam Neeson played him, who's a white dude, and Ra's al Ghul is Middle Eastern. Yep. And bringing Damian Wayne into the picture, you're probably going to introduce his lineage. We're probably going to get Talia and Ra's al Ghul, and if Ra's al Ghul's in the picture, he might be in the background as kind of a whatever villain, but I think he might be the main villain, and he wants Damian's body, his youth, kind of the revenge. What's it called? The resurrection of Ra's al Ghul is a little arc that I could see them going with. Andy, do you have thoughts on the villain of Brave and the Bold? You said Two-Face.
Well, I think it would be a good one. I mean, I know he's been done maybe a bit recently as well, wasn't he? But I still would like to see the Riddler thrown in there. I think he's such a complex character that he makes. I know because we got him recently, didn't we? In the Batman, so not necessarily they're going to go straight down the carbon copy route. But I agree with Tyler in the fact that I think Two-Face would be a good starting off point here.
Yeah, right on. Supergirl trailer. How did you feel about that one, Tyler?
I got really excited for it. I've been excited for. I haven't read nearly as many of her comic books, so it's not like I'm highly familiar with it, but ever since that they announced Millie Alcock was playing her, I loved her as an actress. I was sold on her ever since House of Dragon, so I was excited for that just a little bit. I think she was electric in Superman, and the trailer was really exciting. I think that was done really well. The first look at Lobo was sick, so I'm pretty excited for that one. That was the close to second place for me for conflicting with Clayface.
Yeah. After reading the comic, I am really excited for the story. The trailer didn't really do it for me because it felt like Guardians of the Galaxy. It's the same complaint everyone has, but it didn't do that extra. I'm basically left off where I was. I'm still excited for the movie, but the trailer felt so Guardians of the Galaxy, whereas the comic has a kind of a darker backdrop, kind of a more somber tone, and you meet a lot of species that don't feel like they are ripped from Guardians of the Galaxy. But I also love Guardians of the Galaxy too, and if Supergirl is put in the middle of that then I'm probably gonna really like it. I was really hoping for that money shot of her facing off Lobo, or at least a full-on shot of Lobo on his bike, like ready to go. But man, I'm excited about Jason Momoa playing that role so much, and I think this one's going to be a ton of fun.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm pretty confident of it being different from Guardians of the Galaxy, and it having its own like visual texture, and I think doing justice to especially a leading woman. The director Craig Gillespie was the director and producer of like I, Tanya and Lars and the Real Girl and movies like that. So I think it's a really cool choice to get somebody like that who has done pretty successful representations of leading women. So I'm really interested for that.
Yeah, me too. Lanterns. So James Gunn said that the big DCU threat will kind of bleed into lanterns, and I'm super interested to see what your thoughts on, what the big bad of the DC will end up being, who's going to be facing off against the Justice League in their first movie, and how could that be introduced in lanterns?
I mean,
it's a crapshoot at this point, right?
Yeah, like it really could be anything, and we already know Brainiac's coming in the next Superman movie, so it's kind of like the Thanos thing. Like, how do you kick off the DCU and not try to do a great version of Darkseid?
Mm-hmm. See, Parallax was, since it's in a Lantern show, I think Parallax or the Sinestro Corps, or even the Black Lanterns, if the first Justice League movie is going to be Blackest Night, which would be crazy. It's not the route I think they would go with. But you got to wonder, with Kyle Chandler, he's really old too. And I feel like he certainly didn't sign a 10-year contract. Kind of think he might end up doing Parallax. Maybe he's part of the big bad process. But I do imagine they will either find a ring color or... I feel like it's just going to be a certain ring, whether it's yellow or black, because it's in the Lantern show, but we'll see. I don't know how galactic we're going. I don't think Darkseid's going to be the villain, so I don't think we're going to go into space and go see Apocalypse and all them. So I'm really starting to think, maybe the Rings of Fear will be basically the villain, however that comes, whether that's Parallax or Sinestro Corps. But Sinestro Corps War would be a really cool Justice League 1, if that was kind of the big bad. But it also doesn't feel big enough for what is being developed because I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those things. It's like you're like the Sinestro Corps is kind of like your main bad guy for like the Lanterns. It's like if you guys can't handle this, and
Right,
like Justice
exactly.
League has to stop them every time, it really kind of lowers the quality of your Lanterns.
Right. Yeah, and as far as looking past these shows and what we can expect in the future, we have like a Jimmy Olsen show. There's Swamp Thing. There's Batman Brave and the Bold. We have Booster Gold confirmed too, don't we?
Yeah.
Is that right? So
confirmed, yeah. But
what kind of things in general overall are you looking forward to from the DCU? And like overall for the DCU itself, how excited are you? Are you super pumped? Do you think you could be as good as the Infinity Saga was, or all that stuff? How do you feel?
I definitely think it can, but I kind of think they're in a weird spot right now. Like what I guess their business plan right now is kind of like this double-edged sword where it's awesome that they want complete scripts. I think that is where they're correcting from Marvel instead of kind of doing things on the fly. But we might be in a state of like overcorrecting now because we have the benefit of like if somebody can do a cool Clayface project, we can just approve that and get going. But like we're not going to get a Batman movie in a long time because we at least have to get Batman Part 2 out. So Brave and Bold's not going to happen for a while. We don't really have anything on Wonder Woman other than like the Amazonian TV show that has been talked about, but we haven't heard any recent developments on that. And then Lanterns is the only other like Justice League member that kind of has involvement right now, other than like what James Gunn has done. So I really want to build towards a Justice League because I like ever since getting the first Avengers, I would have thought it would have been cool to get a well done version of that, and it doesn't feel yet like we're really like building to anything at all. And with how spread out we are, I don't know how we're going to get to a Justice League movie in less than 20 years.
Yeah,
totally. Yeah, Andy, how you feel about that?
Yeah, it feels like it's gone off the rails a little bit from where they wanted to start with. Because first of all, you say about building a saga that could be as successful as like the Infinity War saga or the first three phases of the MCU. First of all, I don't see it happening that way, because what that was unique. When he started off by just releasing a couple of like solo films for some B-list characters that steamrolled into something far greater than that caught the imagination of everyone and launched, like, while superhero films have been around for a while, it really launched it to the forefront of everything that cinema was doing right then. So to reenact that and to capture that magic is going to be so difficult to do. And then when James Gunn was announced as the head, and he's come out and he's got, here's 10 projects that we're going to do first, and then we're going to roll into other things. And already that plan's gone out the window. They've changed things around. Some things that they said they were going to do, they're not going to be doing. As Tyler said, for a long time, we're not going to get Brave and the Bold for a long time. All of a sudden, they're focusing on like the super corner of us, so Superman, Supergirl, Crypto, and then introducing things in a different order.
And Jimmy Olsen, like right after that.
So it's just like I feel they're a long way off from actually achieving what they wanted to, because they've changed their plans around already. And it's the Star Wars mistake, as we call it nowadays, of coming out announcing things that you're going to do and then having to change your plans when you decide it's not right, or someone came forward and went, "Hey, this is a cool project. Here's a script. Let's do that instead." And like, cool, we'll put that in first then. And it does feel a little bit lost to me right now as to what their plan actually is. Like Tyler said, you got Superman and we've got the Lanterns on the way. Apart from that, where is the rest of the Justice League? How are we going to get a completed set of Justice League characters before 2040? To me, it's almost impossible, because then are you going to be able to build everything up to a big bad villain? And if it's not Darkseid like he claims, how do you make that exciting? And so to me, there is a little bit of whilst I'm excited for the DCU, don't get me wrong at all, I am excited for it. I want to see how good they're going to be and what they're going to do. But it still feels to me like they've gone off the rails a little bit, and they've lost a little bit of the momentum that they had maybe a couple of years ago. And they're not going to capture the magic of what the MCU did in their first three phases. They just can't replicate that, because that was such a unique thing. And if any of you have gone back and like recently, I've seen a lot of the Infinity War and Endgame trailers popping up again on TikTok, because people are like, oh, the excitement for Doomsday and stuff. And just like the chills you get from watching those trailers, even now that it's 5-6 years on, you're not get DC. I don't see them replicating that in the same way. So they have to go down a different route and build a longer term story that makes you invested. But it's such a long term thing that their phase one could be 20-25 years long. So,
right. So, yeah, I think they absolutely do have the potential to reach that bar. It's just I'm a little less confident now. When the DCU started, they announced all this stuff. I was that confident. I was like, they could do this, because they do have the characters, they have the stories, they absolutely have the potential to do what Marvel did. But Superman comes out, and that's great. But then it's like Supergirl. I'm excited about it, but it's like just Superman, Supergirl, Crypto, and then Jimmy Olsen. It's like, no one wants a Jimmy Olsen show, dude. No one wants that. Like we have a lot of corners to build in the DCU. And we see the S on the chest. That corner is going to be built up from Earth to the galaxy after Supergirl. And then all of a sudden it's like a random Clayface show, which again, I'm excited about, but it wasn't part of the plan. Where's the Flash? Where's Aquaman? Where's Wonder Woman? Where's Cyborg? Where's Martian Manhunter? So yeah, it's really starting to feel drug out, because once we complete all these projects that we've heard about, that's like 5 years right there. And then you got to do a Flash movie, and then Wonder Woman, and then Aquaman, and then it's like that'll be another 5 years. We're not getting Justice League until 2040. It seems that way anyway. So
exactly,
to kind of tighten up the plan, or at least comfort the audience. Let us know what's going on. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's the exact point. And I love James Gunn, and I love the projects he's working on, but I feel like it needs pointed out, like the projects that have come out and the ones that have been made are like all his corner. Like that super corner is even more just the James Gunn corner. Yeah. Like we got Creature Commandos, which was a cool animated show, but those characters led directly into his movie and TV show. And Superman was the first movie to come out, and then his show Peacemaker came out right after that, and then Supergirl is the continuation of Superman, and then Superman 2 was already greenlit and the script is written, and that's their next big movie. So it's like we kind of need a little bit more, man. Like, I'm glad you're doing your projects, but it's kind of like the studio is just yours now. We need more.
Yeah. And I don't think it helps that Supergirl, after they switched up schedules, Lanterns is coming out after Supergirl now. And I think Lanterns was a great opportunity to get you away from the Gunn vibes, because it doesn't seem like it's going to be that way. It seems like its own separate, very unique individual corner of the DCU that will not feel like a James Gunn film. And I think that would have been a much better taste to get after Superman. After we hear about Supergirl and Peacemaker season 2, and everything has been James Gunn. So Lanterns, I really wish it came out before. Maybe Supergirl we're going to meet some Lanterns or something that's going to develop the Lanterns out in space, which probably not, though. Honestly, probably not. But you never know. I don't know why they would do that. But yeah, it just seems a little off, a little rocky. I'm a little less confident than I was when the DC was first announced. Big time.
Yeah, what I wanted was like this nice middle ground between like the spectrum of DC and MCU. It's like I completely 100% agree and respect that you need a complete script before going and shooting the movie. But I mean, like, you guys can get like a roadmap of like, we want these characters. So then let's hire the writers to get the script written, and then we can get that made, instead of just seeing whatever script comes our way. Let's just get that made.
Yeah.
But even then, sorry.
Go ahead, bud.
I was going to say, but even then, they're still kind of wanting to copy the print of the MCU, and the fact that they want to get their original characters out there and develop the story, and then they want to have the first Justice League film that isn't the overall big bad of the DCU, but is a big bad, in the same way that, you know, MCU released all their characters, and then they had an Avengers film with Loki, and then you had Age of Ultron, and then you built up to Thanos. And they're still going to do that, aren't they? They're still going to have Justice League films where you're having big bad show up, but still you're going to build up to the overall big bad of Darkseid at some point. It's just James Gunn said he's not going to be the first Justice League villain. So cool, you want to separate yourself from the MCU, but it's hard to not copy their template because of how much everyone loved it. And it's just a really hard, it must be so hard when they're sat in the office going, we've got to separate ourselves from the MCU. Yes, we're the same genre, but we've got to separate ourselves, but we can't help but copy them because that's what we need to do, in a way, isn't it? So it's like you said, they need to have sat down and done their blueprint and road mapped it out, and they just seem to have just stepped away from that already. And it's just a little bit worrying, but it doesn't make anything that's upcoming less exciting. It just means, okay, you've really got to put your foot down on this now and get it sorted for the future. Don't be like post Endgame MCU, where you just throw everything out for the sake of it.
Yeah. I don't want to get it confused. Like, I'm very excited for all the projects DC has coming up. It's just I don't see where they're going long term.
Yeah. Well, at least since they said it's going to be introduced in Lanterns, I'm really, really hoping we kind of have a vision moving forward after Lanterns to kind of see what the big bad's going to be. It's literally came out of his mouth, dude. So I hope that doesn't disappoint. It's not just the most mediocre, like, Apocalypse exists, and they're like, ooh, there's your big bad in the future at some point later, way down the road, something like that.
Yeah. I also have the thought that Elseworlds is going to disappear.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like, because the only thing that we have involved with that right now is the Batman Part 2, and then I kind of feel like they see how that's conflicting with their schedule already, because now they have to get that made before they can even do their Batman. So I think we're going to get Part 2, which is still in Elseworlds, and I think it's just going to kind of go away.
I hope not, because that's like something that could actually separate them from the MCU, because I bet you a lot of really great actors and really great directors aren't willing to work for Marvel because of the continuity and the chains that they'd be put under. And dude, if DC did Elseworlds movie, I feel like that opens the door to so much creative potential and manpower that wouldn't be willing to do it if they had to stick into this universe full of continuity. And I also think the Batman 2 they kind of put themselves in a corner there. They got to release the Batman 2. I bet you, looking forward, the Elseworlds movies, they will keep that in mind. And that was a good lesson to learn. Like, oh my God, like we want to get Batman out, but we got this Reeves movie that's taken 5 years for a sequel. So they'll probably look for that in the future. And hopefully they stick to that Elseworlds idea, because I feel like that's a great way to separate them from the MCU and just get great movies that are just isolated. And who knows? Who knows? Who knows anything that's going to happen with this Netflix situation? Although the Netflix CEO said, they're going to keep WB completely individual, autonomous and everything. So I really hope that's true. And DC doesn't get any studio interference, because that was like the big thing about them becoming their own studio, was the no more interference. You got all the creative control. Then a couple years later, they get purchased by someone else. And it's like, oh.
They had a big year too, man. Crazy time to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was going to ask you, Tyler, about that, and the fact that I've covered it recently on our social media about with Netflix potentially, obviously, getting, if they ratify the purchase of WB, and the potential return of the Snyderverse, whether that's to Netflix or they talked about it returning and finishing it off in comic book form. Where do you stand on that? Because I've made it very clear where I stand on the Snyderverse and Zack Snyder as a director. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on whether you would like to see the Snyderverse continuing, whether you don't care, whether you think just doing it as comics is a great idea. Because that's what I would like to. Like, if they want to do that, don't bring back him to direct any films for just Netflix or anything like that. Just write a few comics, let them finish their story off so the nerds can have some conclusion, and then just move on. But I was interested in your thoughts on it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the perfect way to do it. I don't think it's going to be happening whatsoever, because it seems like Netflix is already ending their partnership with Zack Snyder and have canceled everything else that they had planned with him. So I really don't think.
You mean the best movies of the century in Rebel Moon?
The year that it came out, first of all, to open up your movie with a dick joke immediately is insane to do for a sci-fi movie. But the only movie worse than that movie that year was The Flash.
I mean, I actually think The Flash was about 10 times better than Rebel Moon, to be honest, and that's just saying how bad it was. But because they did the director's cut of Rebel Moon, and I made my wife watch the original 1 and 2 of Rebel Moon, and then she said to me, if I made her watch the director's cut, she was going to divorce me. That's how bad it is. So, but yeah, carry on. Sorry.
Also frustrates me. Like, you have full creative control already. Why is it your choice to not do everything in the movie and then also do a director's cut? Like, it's just,
that gets annoying.
It's just the choices like that he makes just drives me insane. And it's like, what are you trying to do here? But yeah, there is still a fan base for it. I think them being as toxic as they are is also not helpful to getting their universe revived. But there is obviously a fan base for it. If you want to continue it, give more comic book writers and illustrators a job. Let them do it that way. Have Snyder work with comic writers and then do it that way. But as confused as audiences may be already with the takeover of James Gunn, I think jumping backwards again is going to be even more detrimental. So yeah, I don't see them doing that, and I see them playing out their play, because everything else has been very successful from the James Gunn universe so far. So I don't think they would want to mess with that money.
Fair.
All right, Tyler, we'll wrap it up with one more question for DC. Andy, think of an answer after Tyler. So say the DC Elseworlds movie is going to be confirmed tomorrow, like the first Elseworlds confirmed movie after the Batman 2 is coming out. What would your number one choice be? That what would make you the happiest?
Yeah, that one's a tough one, because we're still pretty fresh in the universe already. Because the number one movie I want to see in general from that universe is a Martian Manhunter movie. Like, we haven't got great representation of him yet, and I think he's such an interesting character. Especially for setting up space so much with Supergirl and Lanterns. I think he's a perfect character to really start introducing, and I think you could do some really cool things with him. And I think Vision being a successful character in the MCU kind of helps to show that sort of outside of humanity sort of character can fit into the group, and I think he could be done very well.
Yeah. See, that's one of the things that they only have one opportunity to do in the DCU is these first interactions with characters, like the first time maybe Supergirl meets Martian Manhunter in this movie, like, and that's special. Or when Batman and Superman meet for the first time, like, that should be a special, like a really special scene. And that's kind of the stuff I'm really looking forward to moving forward. And before we watched Superman, we kind of all thought maybe the Justice League already exists, maybe they're already a team and we're just going to their corner of the universe for their movie. But sure enough, the Justice League don't exist. So I think we could still get a lot of that phase one MCU magic in the DCU. And I'm really looking forward to that. So if we're talking about Martian Manhunter popping up in a project, dude, and if you're trying to be as exciting as the MCU and you're trying to build your universe, throw Martian Manhunter into Lanterns and Supergirl. I give it a good 5 to 10% chance that that's a possibility, actually.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're in space, so like literally anything can happen. And like we've been talking about the comparisons of like the DCU formula copying the MCU formula to be successful, but like the major difference that they've set up already where they can stray away from that formula and make it their own is that they're already in the middle of the universe. Superman set that up, that Superman's been active for a few years himself. There's already other heroes out there. So like we don't have to do the MCU mistake of everybody needs an origin story now. Like we can jump in and just meet these heroes as heroes and just keep it rolling. And like we have a lot more potential to do cool things instead of origin after origin after origin.
Mm-hmm. But do you think that in a way also plays against them, because James Gunn said that this could be not like the MCU, but more like Star Wars, where the timeline isn't linear. You can jump around. So Brave and the Bold could be set, 5 years before Superman, and or it could be set, 15 years after. And so nothing's set in a linear timeline, which kind of throws it into chaos of how do you build up again to the MCU formula of getting everyone together for then their first big bad movie of Justice League if everything's not in timeline order. Or it doesn't necessarily have to be in timeline order to get to that point, but after that point, everything has to sort of work in a fairly similar time frame. So do you think that works for them? They want to do it that way, or do you think it works against them that they can just throw everything anywhere and just say, well, this is this part of it, but it's 10 years before or 10 years after?
I think it's possible, but there's a really careful balance that you have to strike with it, because I like the intro of Superman's a good example, because it's like, oh, like 300 years ago we had this introduced, and 30 years ago like we had this, and then 3 years ago there was this, but like there's not like definite dates to any of it. So like if we are like, we kind of have to use these like major event points to balance the entire timeline, and that can start kind of getting cloudy and hazy and a little confusing, because at least with the Star Wars timeline, like you have the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, or like the sequel trilogy, and you're kind of in the confines of that, so you can jump around pretty well. But that's also one of the annoying things with the Star Wars universe right now is, why do we have to stay in this timeline, and all the projects that we're throwing out are at weird points within it? Like, why can't we just like go somewhere else instead of just beating this one timeline to death?
Fair.
Yeah. Andy, number one pick, Elseworlds project. What makes you happiest? What comes out?
I mean, you put me on the spot and I was struggling to think, but you know what I actually think would be really cool is a genuinely serious, dark follow-up to Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern, with Ryan Reynolds coming back.
Interesting.
Play that role.
Interesting.
After how
very interesting
panned that movie was, and how much of a joke the CGI was, and obviously his character was a complete joke from it as well. But to bring him back like 20, 30 years later and do a dark, gritty Green Lantern film with him at the center of it, and playing a more he's taken his responsibility seriously over the years. He's matured. He's different. He's ready to lead the Lanterns. And to give like a follow up to one of the worst DC movies ever by giving it one of its like just craziest ever follow ups, but completely turn it around and give it a good narrative instead. I would love to see that, to be honest. I couldn't think of anything better on the spot, to be honest, but I thought that could be a pretty cool follow up.
Nice, dude. I mean, I watched that when I was a kid, and I loved it as a kid. So, like, I don't hate it as much as everyone else does. I'm not saying it's a good movie. I'm not saying I throw it on all the time and watch it. But if I threw it on for my kids, it was a couple months ago, and I was like, I don't hate this, okay? Everyone shut up in my head right now telling me this movie sucks. No. It's all right. What do you think about the costumes on the lanterns? Do you think it's going to look like that, or do you think it's going to look way different? Because coming out of a lot of talk about some footage that was shown somewhere around the planet, the costumes were brought up a lot. Like they're very strange and different. And do you like the Hal Jordan, the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern? At least the costumes themselves. Do you guys like those? Because I actually really loved the costumes. Is that just me as a kid again? Probably.
I think the look of them is fine, but the fact that they were just so CGI'd it just made them look just terrible.
Yeah. Like the weird like energy pulsing in and out of the stuff. I thought it was pretty cool, but I'm really curious to see what they look like in the DCU.
I think it was a cool idea to like introduce like real quick, and like especially as a kid, just like, oh, that looks insane, and like you can like see his superpower literally. But like I don't know if it's like I get older, if I read more comic books, but I really love like practical stuff in movies, especially. So if we can get just a really cool like practical costume is kind of what I'm going for.
Yeah.
And I'll add one more topic on the DCU I really want to get your thoughts on. And that is the Robins of Batman's lore. Starting off with Damian, we know this dynamic duo project is coming out where apparently it might be an origin for Red Hood and or Nightwing. For me personally, building out the Bat family, I felt was one of my most exciting things. I wanted to see Batman in the DCU meet Dick Grayson move on to become Nightwing, meeting Jason Todd, that whole story going on to become Red Hood. One of my favorites ever. Just love the Red Hood story. Then him meeting Tim Drake come after. Yeah, Tim Drake came after Jason Todd, meeting him. And then Damian Wayne comes to the picture. So when we jump to Damian Wayne, that kind of bummed me out because I love the story of every single Robin. And how do you feel about that? So do you think they're already going to exist in this Brave and the Bold world? Or do you think, and dynamic duo, as it's supposed to be in origin, it's supposed to also be like animated and puppetry, which I have no idea what that means. I have no idea what to expect from that, but it sounds different. And I wanted to see all that live action. So how do you feel about the DCU's future with the Robins and their characters that they evolve into?
Yeah, I really hope we're not starting with Damian. Like as soon as I heard that, I was incredibly bummed as well because like I grew up as like the Arkham Asylum kid, like the video games. I loved the whole game series and like having the family of having Dick Grayson, even having Batgirl with Barbara and having Red Hood being a part of it as well. So I really want one of like even the 3 first Robins. Like I think if we could start with Dick Grayson, that him evolving into Nightwing could become like the DC's version of like Winter Soldier, like how much of an absolute fan favorite that he absolutely is. If we can, and like you wouldn't have Winter Soldier if you didn't have him as just Bucky in the first Captain America movie. So if we could even just get Dick for 1 or 2 movies as Robin and then make him Nightwing, like you can use that character effectively. But at minimum, I would at least like to jump in where we have Tim Drake as a Robin, and then we have Nightwing established and Red Hood already established. Like that would be as far as I would want to push it, and even still, that's not absolutely preferred.
But it's already confirmed Damian is the Robin and Brave and the Bold.
Yeah, that's what I'm bummed about. Yeah.
And so Nightwing and Red Hood, you think already exist?
I mean, if we have Damian, they would have to, right?
They kind of have to. Yeah, that is kind of a bummer. You really want to see that like pan out.
Like 3 Robins have already came and went. We're only seeing the 4th one.
Yeah. And in my opinion, not the best one. I love Damian, but I think just the story of the other Robins themselves is really what makes me want them.
Yeah.
Done on screen. But sorry, I was reading a text from David, so he might be on his way soon, but maybe running into troubles. What were you going to say, Andy?
No, I was just going to say the additional, obviously, the fact that they were saying the Brave and the Bold, and they're going to use Damian in that. Do you think they would be bold enough, no pun intended, to have an older Batman where they almost retire him after a film or 2 and have Damian take over as Batman, as a younger Batman, like a teenager to early 20s Batman, and introduce other Robins that way?
I don't see them doing it.
Because that would be a hell of a move to like have an older Bruce Wayne, who's like teaching Damian everything to prep him to take over as Batman, rather than like just the fact that we're recycling Bruce Wayne over and over again.
I mean, even at that point, if we're doing old Bruce Wayne, give me Batman Beyond, man.
I don't think they'll do it just because it's so early on in the universe. We're not starting with an older Batman, but it does make me wonder, like long-term wise, as movie studios, I wonder if they would ever commit to something like that. Like, all right, you're in a 20-year contract, but you're going to become Batman. Exactly. It's not that kind of stuff wouldn't happen. And it's like in the comics, like Bruce Wayne will always be Batman, even in 100 years. He'll still be alive as Batman, and somehow Damian will still be like 15 years old. That's just how they've always done it. But how interesting would that be if it was chronologically accurate and consistent to where 20 years from now, the DCU, it's like, obviously Batman isn't still alive. It's like 50 now, in this. So we got to replace him. Just like a continuous story, just that on and on, like realistically with age. That'd be crazy. Okay, so I think that'll wrap it up with DCU talk. Let's get into Marvel. So at some point, we're going to get into a bunch of the Secret Wars comics themselves, the OG and the older one. A lot of things that could align with the MCU that either do or could or something, for more or less. Some of them could be throwaways. Some of them could be really interesting, but we'll look into that, see where the state of the MCU is. But overall, Tyler, if we're talking about the state of the MCU, how do you feel? And if we're looking to the future, how do you feel about the MCU?
We're in trouble at the moment, and that's especially speaking as I've made countless videos on MCU, and I've always been more of a Marvel guy than a DC guy, and I've been defending it to my last breath ever since Endgame, it seems like. And it's even at the point where it's like, all right, man, you're losing me now, and this is a bummer. But I really feel like they are just trying to get to Secret Wars like as quick as possible, so they can have that reset, and then so they can kind of do things more effectively like they want to now, and have that restart with access to X-Men and Fantastic Four and being able to reintroduce their Avengers and everything. But I feel like we're having a lot of stumbles on the way trying to get there, man.
Yeah, nothing but mediocrity ever since Endgame, with a couple bangers. That's about it, right?
Some exceptions, and like some of that is like Disney's fault, and like studio CEO like oversight and like forced projects and things like that. And I like accept that, and like some of it's COVID, and then some of it is like writer and actor strikes and things like that. But it gets to the point, it's like, where do we stop making excuses for them? And like you started getting it together, and then now we're backsliding so hardcore with bringing the big three back. It's like now you're degrading the value that Endgame had. Like when we started off the pod, like the emotional payoffs that they had in Endgame, and now you're throwing them away.
Yeah. Do you see a correlation with Bob Chapek as CEO and then Bob Iger coming back? Because I mean, with the whole Infinity Saga was Bob Iger as CEO, and the era of mediocrity, I felt like was directly correlated to when Bob Chapek took over Disney. Now that switch has gone on about a year ago, right? Bob Iger's been back as CEO for about a year or two. In my opinion, Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four were good movies. I think you didn't like Fantastic Four much. Is that correct? Okay.
Fair enough. I was pretty disappointed with that one.
For sure. Now, is it like in the same ballpark as your Thor, Love and Thunder, the Marvels and stuff like that?
So I actually really like the Marvels. I think that got overhated for sure.
Okay.
Love and Thunder and Quantumania were for sure slop, unfortunately. So Fantastic Four is ahead of those. I think they just like Matt Shackman, like when he's moving the camera around and like he's actually being able to cook, he's doing great things there. The writing of the movie is just bad, and they cut so much from it, and you can feel it. It's very visible. Like we hardly got the Thing at all. I don't think that they got Reed Richards correct. And
I agree with that too.
it feels like they just sped through the final act, and we didn't even really know the intentions or purpose of Galactus. So like I feel like there's just like these huge holes in the writing that make the plot and overall screenplay just pretty weak.
Fair. Fair, yeah. I never have liked the Thing, so I kind of actually liked that he wasn't in it a bunch. Not only that, I actually really loved the portrayal of the Thing anyway. So I could have got more of him, but yeah, that was the best thing I've seen on comics or on screen. Because if I hate how much he says clobber in time in the comics. That gets annoying. It's like Namor and saying Imperious Rex. I cannot stand in the comics how often that dude says that phrase. I just don't want to even read it. So, but the Thing usually being like the kind of stereotypical jock, kind of tough guy. I'm really glad they didn't do that thing. He was cool, down to earth, still really strong.
Yeah, the little bit that they did, I feel like they nailed him. Like they even made him Jewish. Like he went to the synagogue. Like he's kind of the heart of the family. Like he still had a passion for cooking. Loved all of it. But that was literally the only 10 to 15 minutes that like we got of him. And like this guy is strength wise on par with the Hulk.
Right.
And all he did was run through a building.
Yeah. Marvel hasn't done good with their, like, what do you call those kind of characters? Like your brawlers, your muscle. Like Hulk,
Strong
obviously
guys.
Hulk is such a dropped ball even in Infinity War and Endgame. I love those movies, but Hulk, Bruce Banner is the worst part of those movies for me. Just why would you choose to do that with a character like the Hulk? I don't get it. I hope he comes back in a big way.
Yeah, that they perpetually got wrong. So yeah, I want to see them course correct that. But to kind of go back to like your original thing, for a while now, I've kind of felt like Chapek has been the scapegoat for Iger. Like I think that was his intended purpose the whole time. Like I don't think he was ever going to last longer than the COVID era. And it was actually Iger that started Disney Plus and like was the first one to set the precedent of like, hey, we need all of these projects put out immediately to fill our streaming service. And I don't know if you guys have read the book, like the MCU, The Reign of Marvel, written by Joanna Robinson, but she does a
I know the book though.
Yeah, a phenomenal book, and she really gets into that of like it was like this mandate where they lost the oversight and like had to throw out all these projects, and that's where all of the continuity was lost. And then I think Chapek just kind of came in and like continued to reinforce that, which didn't help. But
Interesting.
It was a precedent that was set beforehand, and it was. I don't think Disney was ever going to come out of the COVID era like looking great, so that's why I think Chapek was always the scapegoat for Iger to come back and not be the bad guy.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I haven't looked deep enough into the story to consider I always put Chapek bad, Iger good, but of course, like anything else in life, nothing's black and white. So, yeah, I really want to read that book. It's very interesting. You get to really see what's going on behind the scenes. But Iger's supposed to be replaced soon anyway. His original contract was only for like 2 years to get Disney or Marvel back on track and then have someone replace him. So that's very interesting. And that'll actually take place, I think, next year. So I'm really wondering where we're moving forward here. Because, yeah, like you said, going back a few minutes, we have spent 6-7 years developing a new characters at least. And then with this new trailer with Steve Rogers coming back, we already know RDJ is the main villain. Now we got RDJ coming back. It's starting to feel like another Civil War 2 painted in different colors. And it totally feels like a Hail Mary crap. Like they're really desperately trying to win the fans back. And they kind of already got me. I liked Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four, but this really still does feel like a gimmick, man. You got RDJ as the main villain. Yeah. Chris Evans is going to come back as your lead hero. So
it's very much we're throwing a Hail Mary because we need our movies to make money again. And last time we had these guys, it made a lot of money. So let's do it again.
Right. Well, Andy, do you see a world where they bring these characters back, but they have a really good story to tell? They have a reason why Dr. Doom looks like RDJ, a good reason for Chris Evans to come back. See, that I could deal with because of his dealings with the Infinity Stones and traveling through time. That could cause incursions and problems. And I actually see that fitting into the story. But is there a world where they make a great Avengers movie with the same leads as different characters?
I mean, yeah, the bringing back of RDJ to me was always a money grab. because they were like, we need to get something successful going back into the Avengers films because we haven't done one in so long. And so to me, it was all about the fact that we bring back RDJ in a different form, then it's going to be successful because he just brings in that crowd and everyone's going to be drawn to him because of obviously having played Iron Man for so long. Then you can understand why you could play him into that story because of the emotional, again, adding to emotional weight of the loss of Tony Stark in Endgame, but the fact that he's coming back and all these characters are going to recognize him as Tony Stark when it's not Tony Stark. So you can play into the emotional side of everyone. So when he sees like Peter Parker and all this sorts of stuff and Thor, and so there's definitely emotional weight behind bringing RDJ back to play a different character. I still think it's a money grab, but I think I can still understand the emotional weight of that. As for the Steve Rogers thing, yeah, I'm not best pleased about this, to be honest. Having just caught the leaked or the Avatar trailer that's been out the last few days and seeing that it's obviously there were always rumors that Chris Evans was coming back to play some kind of Captain America or Captain Hydra even, and I could have dealt with it if it was Captain Hydra or a variant from another universe. But if you're bringing us back, like that trailer indicates that it's our Steve Rogers, that at the end of Endgame went back to 1945 and was with Peggy. He's got a kid now. And so it is our original Steve Rogers that is going to be in this film. And to me, that's a bit of a piss take because you are just, again, I mean, Tyler's already said it, you're playing on the emotions of what we were connected to for the big three. And it just seems like a desperation move to bring everyone back. I was already starting to get hyped up as it was because that feeling of like Infinity War or Endgame was starting to rise back on me because the trailers were coming back out there again. They're building up to Doomsday, even though it's still a year away. You didn't need the big three back in this to hype it for me. I mean, we're entering a new era with different Avengers and Doctor Doom. It was going to be hyped enough. But to then, if you're bringing back the big three, even if it's not the exact same way, because it's RDJ's a different sort of version, but to bring Steve Rogers back to me it's so endangering his legacy as Captain America and the story that's been told already. And I'm not sure he makes it out of this alive now as well, which would even more ruin the legacy of what we got from at the end of Endgame. And that actually does worry me a little bit.
Yeah, they always make fun of Marvel for their fake deaths. And now they've literally transcended and evolved to like how many times have we said goodbye to Wolverine, to Hugh Jackman's Wolverine? The last 3 movies he was in was a nice send-off to Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. Thanks for coming. It's his last time. The last 3 movies were like that. Chris Evans, perfect send-off. Good to go. Let the character be. Bring him on back. It's just like, not only are they doing fake narrative deaths or faking out like actors being done with their careers, like they keep coming back. Now, with that said, though, I'll do a little devil's advocacy because I love Chris Evans as Captain America and I love RDJ on screen. And so I'm still pumped to see them. I'm really excited to see how that works out because there's no way they do it fully gimmicky. Like, I don't know how this is going to work. Chris Evans, RDJ, Dr. Doom. Like, they have to have some kind of plan. They mentioned that Tony Stark's death in Endgame might have something to do with Dr. Doom. So I'm thinking maybe dream walking or something. Dr. Doom dream walks into Tony's body and gets the trust of other characters that are familiar with Tony Stark. And I think that he will embody the infamous Iron Man. I think that, have you read that one, Tyler?
Yeah, I really love it's a really cool comic run. So like I would have like much rather like preferred that. That's always been like the thing that's upset me the most with RDJ being announced as Doctor Doom. Like I feel like if you wanted to bring him back, like there are like villainous Iron Man runs and you could have done a spin on that. Like bring him back like as Iron Man, but like make him a bad guy. And then it would have also been cool to have like Doctor Doom be Iron Man as well. But like I think for the introduction of Doom, it just doesn't work. But I do really love that comic book.
Yeah. So I feel like what are the chances he's from the 838, the team of Illuminati from Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness? There was an absence of Iron Man, yet there was a presence of Iron Man, Doombots walking around, and he wasn't there for that scene, but is there any potential he is from that universe? After thinking about it, there's no way he's from that universe because that's a different Reed Richards. I feel like our Doctor Doom is going to be close to our Reed Richards from that.
Yeah,
universe.
especially with the post-credit scene that we got there, which was also a pain point because like the biggest thing of Doctor Doom is that he never takes his mask off, and literally the first time we see him, his mask is off already. Even though we don't see his face, his mask is off already.
Yeah. Do you think that has something to do with looking like Tony Stark?
Yeah,
Why show this all-powerful kid your face? Like, just like make me look like this guy. I don't know. Like, what? Something has to be going on there that's not just, hey, I'm Doctor Doom. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, which like would have been cool to see their history in the movie, or just at any point before we have this big Doomsday thing. But I think it's very much going to be the thing of like Franklin is like fixing his face, which is why his face is out.
Yeah.
I still don't buy into the theory that RDJ's version of Doctor Doom is the true Victor Von Doom for like the main 616 or MCU sacred timeline. This has to be a version of Tony Stark gone rogue, as we know, as you already mentioned. Infamous Iron Man happens in the comics, so I believe this was just a setup that Marvel have done to obviously draw us back in and have a big event of obviously having to change their plans from Kang Dynasty to Doomsday. They've done this, and then post Secret Wars, when there's the soft reboot that goes on, and we finally get the X-Men, the proper and the Fantastic Four maybe set in our universe, and then we will get a proper Victor Von Doom coming through. I just don't believe for a minute, no matter how many times they're going to say it, I don't believe that this is the true Victor Von Doom that we're all expecting for the long term, because Victor Von Doom will go beyond Secret Wars in terms of getting that character later on as well. So this is just the rewrite that they had to do following the scrapping of Kang Dynasty. And like I said, it does add emotional weight having RDJ playing the character, because like we know the face and everything. But yeah, I can't believe for a minute this is going to be the long-term Victor Von Doom that we get in the sacred timeline, so to speak, post Secret Wars as well.
Man, I hope not. I am praying that is the case. I don't want this to be the long-term Doom. I'm praying that it's some sort of psych out, because like, yeah, like come on, man. And like even like looking back on this, like even 5 years, like is it going to be like a real emotional payoff? Because yeah, he's got the face of Tony Stark, but he's not Tony Stark. So like it's going to be one of those things, like it's a feeling that we're giving now because it's like playing with our emotions, but like, is it always going to play with our emotions?
Yeah. Well, this is where I buy into JD's theory that when he shows up and he is a former Tony Stark that has turned into Doctor Doom, and he plays on everyone's emotions of the fact that he's trying to convince everyone that Loki isn't the bad guy, and so he builds a team to go after Loki, and they all trust him because he's Tony Stark, or he looks like Tony Stark. So that to me is something that has to play into it, which is why they keep mentioning that Tony Stark's death is going to play a big part in his story, because everyone's going to believe he is a Tony Stark or a variant of Tony Stark, and he's going to play on that a lot. And then at the end, he's going to go boom, uses everyone's powers to take out Loki, gets the power himself, and causes Battle World and Secret Wars. So I've always bought into JD's theory once he brought that up, that that's the way it's going to go down.
Yeah, because you can convince these group of Avengers that have fought Loki before, and he's like holding all this power, and it's like, hey, Tony Stark's here. We have to go fight Loki again. I could totally see it. All right, so we could dive into more theories as we move on. But what we're going to do now is go through the Secret Wars and the OG Secret Wars, original Secret Wars, and the modern Hickman Secret Wars, going through a few moments that could align with the MCU. And Andy, Tyler, if some of these are throwaway, just say throwaway, nothing to see here, but some of these might have something. It's kind of different from what we've done before, but maybe kind of fun. Starting off with the original Battle World instance, when everyone gets shipped off to Battle World, Susan is left behind with her baby. She's pregnant there. That aligns a little bit with the MCU there. And then Wanda and Vision are also left behind. Like all the characters are going. Very few are left behind, but Sue Storm, Vision, Wanda. That made me think of the WandaVision series coming, or whatever it's called, Vision Quest series coming out. Do you think that's super standalone, Tyler, or do you think that Vision Quest will, play a larger role? Where's Wanda? What's Vision doing? Like anything bigger? Ultron's coming back for that too as well.
Yeah. I don't see it playing a huge part, honestly. Just because I don't think Elizabeth Olsen is going to be coming back. She doesn't seem to be having very fond memories with the MCU, and she's got a lot to say. So and like Agatha doesn't feel like it's gonna have like any larger ramifications, and like we're gonna get Speed and Wiccan, but I don't really see it further playing into it. And like we still don't even have a release date, so like we don't know where it even correlates with
We don't.
Doomsday. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really think so either, to be fair, but it is weird, the timing of it. It's weird to bring back Ultron. It is weird that this is a continuation of kind of Agatha and Vision Quest, where they are looking for Wanda and they're looking for their twins. And the theme of finding Wanda is what I'm interested in, especially when you're looking at Doctor Doom's ultimate plans here, which, you know, they could pick and choose from multiple comic stories to put in their Secret Wars movie. But there's that Children's Crusade story that's also all about finding Wanda, and she ends up with Doctor Doom because he needs a power upgrade. So there's a lot of matches there. Yeah. But to be fair, throughout the MCU, I find a lot of fun matches that don't pan out. Like back in the day, I thought for sure, ever since Asgard came to Earth, I thought for sure they were going Dark Reign saga because, you know, put someone else like even Kingpin, if he was the head of the Thunderbolts, and have this like kind of Devil's Reign era. Asgard was the big climax battle between the Dark Avengers and the and Asgard, like that whole Dark Reign era climax. So, you know, things like that align so much that don't always pan out. But it is interesting. You got this Vision show coming out before Secret Wars.
Yeah, you're right, man. Dark Avengers was right there, and I'll forever be bummed we never got that. Same. And they're even kind of doing Devil's Reign, but not to its fullest extent. So I think they could have done it. It was right there, man.
I agree. Norman Osborn not even in the universe yet. But like Kingpin could have filled those shoes. I don't know. He could have done.
Yeah, you could have easily used Kingpin, especially with how Vincent D'Onofrio is killing it. But on the quick side note, I want Norman Osborn with Coleman Domingo like we have in the animated series. I think he would absolutely kill that. Like he already is voice acting.
Is that Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man?
Yeah.
That'd be good. The thing about Susan not making it to Battleworld is actually consistent with the modern Secret Wars as well. So have you read that one, Tyler?
Yeah.
And Time Runs Out. She doesn't make it either time. And the modern one, it's a pretty tragic, it's a heroic sacrifice. She holds together the ship so they can actually escape the last incursion to get into Secret Wars. So Richards is always making it to Battleworld without his wife. And, you know, in Secret Wars, it's like she is Doom's wife and Franklin and Valeria are his kids. So this scene is the last incursion before Emperor God Doom becomes a thing and Battleworld becomes a thing. Do you think Doomsday will end like that? The last incursion happens, Doom figures it out, saves the universe, saves the multiverse, but becomes the Emperor God Doom going into Secret Wars? Is that how you see it ending?
So my big thing is that I think Doomsday is going to be their battle world. I mean, they could flip it around and like still have it in like this before we kind of get like God Emperor Doom, but it kind of feels like they're, since with Doom being such a focus on this, and if they do the fake out, like Doom's going to be kind of at the height of his power here, and then it's like the incursions that they really have to worry about through like Secret Wars. And they could stray away from that pretty big time, but I think more of the focus on this one is going to be like, I think it's going to be their Avengers versus X-Men. I think they're going to be working a big part of that into it. So instead of like heroes and villains fighting, I think it's going to be more Avengers versus X-Men style there. But if they do this, which I think is a good option, I don't think they'll do it with Invisible Woman. I don't think they'll do it with Storm because she was probably the most prominent character from the movie. Like they're putting a lot on her, so I don't think that they would do that.
All right, Andy, what's more likely? The incursion ends Doomsday, or a scene with Doom having to get Loki's powers, and our heroes are in between Doom and Loki to prevent him getting, you know, Doom's trying to get Loki. The Avengers are going to stop Doom. Do you think that's more likely than an incursion?
Yeah, because it's so easy to think that they could go the same like Infinity War Endgame route where you have Doom winning and in creating Battle World at the end of the film, and then starting off Secret Wars where Battle World's already there, and it just shows people living their lives at the start of it before things kick off. But they've got so much ground to cover in Doomsday. It's hard to know where they end the film because they've got to set up Doom as a baddie because we've had no setup of him at all so far in the MCU. So you've got to spend part of that film setting him up. We know that there's going to be incursions and there's going to be X-Men and Avengers kicking off. We now know that Steve Rogers is back, so rumor that obviously there's going to be a chunk of the film dedicated to Steve versus Doctor Doom. There's also the fact that you've got including that what's going on with the Thunderbolts and the Fantastic Four as well, because they're going to be in this movie. And they've got so many grounds to cover that it's just, do you then section that in half where you have literally like Avengers versus X-Men and then everyone else is like going with Doom up against Loki? I like the idea of that he goes up against Loki at the end of it. Like I said, I'm sticking with your theory on this one, JD, that he creates his team. He maybe sets the X-Men and Avengers off against each other, does something to make them think that each other's causing the incursions, and they go up and have fights against each other. And whilst he's doing that, he's taken a team that he's put together and goes up against Loki, and then somehow beats Loki at the end and just tricks everyone and ends the universe and the multiverse and causes a battle world. So that's that's what I reckon. It's a little bit of everything in a way.
Yeah, man. We'll see. Another quick one. Iron Man was not in either Secret Wars. Rhodey is the Iron Man we're looking at here in the OG Secret Wars, but that was Rhodey, and that was not Iron Man. So that's interesting that he wasn't in either major Marvel event. Like, of course, the events leading up to them, but that's crazy, and that's consistent, right? We're not supposed to have an Iron Man in this one. So at one point, Doom and Galactus go meet the Beyonder and just get washed. So Doom starts making his own plans. Do we see Galactus being involved at all since he was introduced so early? And he was heavily involved in Secret Wars. I don't see it either. It's just, you never know. No. Bringing a character like Galactus, always a little chance they'll use him. And what else we got? Ultron. So Ultron being introduced. In Secret Wars, the Beyonder wants the villains and the heroes to fight each other. And Doom's like, hell no. He's going to go do his own thing. Very Dr. Doom. One of the things he does, though, is reprograms Ultron. And he becomes kind of a soldier for Dr. Doom. That is something that would be really cool, dude. If Ultron being brought back in Vision Quest will actually be used as Doom bots or something like that for Dr. Doom. Not a big chance. A lot of these things are a reach, but could happen. Could be cool.
Yeah, I always wanted Doom's introduction like this in the MCU of like messing with something with Ultron, and like that is what's starting like his Doom bots. And I think this whole thing would have been perfect to like actually do in this Doomsday thing of to like make the battle world actually heroes versus villains instead of kind of like the Civil War thing over again on a larger scale. Because one of the biggest complaints with the MCU the entire time is that they kill off their villains immediately at the end of every movie, and they never have a long-term thing. So if we could have like actually done this thing where it is heroes versus villains, and we could bring back Ultron and Thanos and like Killmonger and like some of the best ones and like have them face off like team versus team that way, I think that would have been like hugely successful and like more of a proper way to look back through the MCU than bringing Steve and Iron Man back.
Yeah, it's still a bummer. You had Shang-Chi, Shuri. I haven't really liked Shuri. Doctor Strange still. Andy, if Ultron came back for a minor role in Doomsday, would that make you happy?
Yeah, I think so. I think Age of Ultron is a massively underrated film, and I would love to see Ultron back, to be fair. I'm looking forward to seeing what role he's got to play in Vision Quest, and I don't think that's going to be the end of him there. So yeah, I expect to see him in Doomsday or Secret Wars, one of the two. Maybe he like takes the place of like the Thor place in Secret Wars.
Oh yeah, the Thor Force. You got to wonder what Doombots can't be his only army too. He might have an organic army. Maybe him and Namor go are like in cahoots, and he has kind of the Wakandans, Talokanians on his side too. Who knows? Another scene. from the OG Secret Wars, Spider-Man versus the X-Men. He washes the X-Men, and it's pretty cool. It's really fun to see that. And he gets away with the information on Doom or something like that. And I forgot the significance of this. This is the significance of it. Right after that, I just had to throw Spider-Man whooping the X-Men's butts in there. That was pretty cool. I would love to see Spider-Man doing that kind of stuff in there. But Magneto is supposed to have a big role potentially. Like, there's a lot of chatter about that with, what's his name? Gandalf.
Ian McKellen
coming back. A lot of people are talking about Magneto's role. Do you see him playing a big role, Tyler? Do you maybe an alliance with Doom or his own corner of Battle World that's like a House of M corner? But Magneto, do you think he'll have a big scene in an Avengers movie too? Because that's a big character in a big movie. I hope he's not just there as a pawn. I want to see like full blown Magneto. What do you think?
Yeah. If you're bringing back Magneto, like, you have to do it properly, and like he's got to be playing a big role. So like I'm praying for that. And like I would say there's no way that you bring these characters back and they're not a brick wall, but they've done that with Professor X already in the Illuminati, unfortunately. So it's definitely something they've done before, but I think this is easily a thing where Doom could manipulate Magneto and play into his interest really well. And like I think that would be a much greater story point if that is something that they can do. Make him like a Baron in like Doomstead.
100%. Now, are you happier with the Ian McKellen, Patrick Stewart side, or would you have been much happier with the Fassbender, McAvoy side of things?
That's a tough one, man. They both did a great job. I think with the classic team they're going with, I think Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart are the way to go. But Fassbender's Magneto is just immaculate. Like, if we were doing anything long term, I would want Fassbender back. But I think it's not going to go past this movie, so I'm fine with it being the OGs.
Yeah, it'll be our 5th and 6th and final send off to the Fox characters, right?
Well, maybe we'll see.
Yeah, then they come back. But Fassbender and like RDJ on screen together, dude, as Doctor Doom and Magneto would hit so hard. I feel like even McAvoy. I liked McAvoy too.
McAvoy was good. I think he was a much more comic accurate version of Professor X, because Professor X is much more problematic than how kind of the white Jesus that Patrick Stewart played.
Yeah. Quick Easter egg scene. Do you think we'll have this iconic moment? Oh, I didn't get the Hulk picture. Well, Molecule Man rips a mountain off the ground and throws it on the Avengers, and Hulk has that iconic moment holding up the whole mountain. That's just one of those Easter egg scenes I could really see in there, so I had to throw it in there. But
they could, because they kind of had a scene like that in Endgame, like when right after Hulk snaps, like he kind of is saving Rhodey and Ant-Man. So they could kind of do like a dual thing of like that scene and homage to Endgame if they did want to do something like that.
Yeah, I could see that Easter egg, and I do think they're going to do something way better with the Hulk here. They know what's going on. Everyone's pissed about the Hulk. The Russo brothers know, because they were the ones that did it 9 years ago or something. Also in Secret Wars, we have Spider-Man getting the black symbiote attached to him. He kind of tries to figure it out a little bit with Reed Richards and them in the labs. But this is something I always really wished as an impatient fan that they did during Infinity War, since he was already in space. And since I've been expecting the symbiote to come into the MCU at some point. But man, I really wanted him on Titan during that movie to get just a 10-second scene of a symbiote attaching and then leaving or something, and bring in the birth of Venom eventually. But now that we're actually in Secret Wars, we're in the comics that happened. Is there any chance, even a slight chance, Andy, that we'll see a Venom symbiote pop in and we might get our first MCU symbiote in Doomsday or Secret Wars? 5%?
Yeah, I mean, there's every chance, because whether it's one of those post-credit scenes that they just want us to forget about or not, but obviously at the end of No Way Home, when the Sonyverse Venom is over here with Tom Hardy, and he obviously leaves a little bit of symbiote behind on the bar, doesn't he? And and then before he gets vanished back to his own universe. So there's every chance, ever so small chance that they could do it like that. I still think they'll probably wait to post Secret Wars before they bring in the symbiotes and Venom properly, depending on what Sony say. But there's ever such a small chance that symbiote was somehow that little bit of the symbiote that was left behind at the end of No Way Home turns into this universe's Venom. It'd be a pretty crap way to do it, but there's still a 3% chance maybe.
Yeah, I don't see it happening. I just really want it to eventually, man. And I mean, I really want Venom in the MCU in general. But Tyler, even Spider-Man, is Spider-Man going to be in there at least? Because
I don't think Spider-Man's going to make it till Secret Wars. I'm really excited for Brand New Day, but I don't think he's going to be a Doomsday. But I think he's for sure going to be there for Secret Wars. And it's like, how do you do Secret Wars and not do this scene?
Yeah.
And I there's better chance now that Sony has taken all of their pieces off the table, because I think it was like 100% of like, no, you only get Tom Holland. We're keeping everything else, even though you guys set up the movie that way. But if you already have him on contract to be in an Avengers movie, and you already have him there, and it's a multiversal thing anyways, like, you could at least sneak like a quick shot of even like a variant Spider-Man doing this. I mean, it's. Right. I think we have better chances in Secret Wars to at least get some sort of glimpse related to this.
Right. I mean, what if it's not Tom Holland that we get it from, but it's from, like, again, Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield Spider-Man? Like, they've done Tobey Maguire. I think it would be quite cool if they did it to Andrew Garfield Spider-Man.
Yeah, especially with his
add a lot more depth to him.
Yeah, he was disappointed he never saw an alien before.
Exactly. Yeah, they've set it up already. As long as we get this shot, I don't really care who it is.
Right, even if it is just an Easter egg, I do want it. All right, what else we got? So Doom. Let's just basically talk about his ultimate goal here, because in the OG Secret Wars, he freaking does all kinds of stuff. He dissects Ulysses' claw to manipulate his energies. He's got Molecule Man, and then he's got to go steal Galactus's energy, and then he's going to go steal the Beyonder's energy. So what are his stepping stones going to be, Tyler, to become Emperor God Doom in the MCU? I'm thinking Sentry. I still think Wanda's going to make a return. Maybe it is Galactus and the Power Cosmic, or Franklin Richards, or Loki, the God of Time, right? So stepping stones to becoming Emperor God Doom. What do you think?
There's a couple different routes that they can go. And they kind of had the thread set up. So one of it is, especially since them completely abandoning the Kang storyline, but we did see that there was a gigantic council of them, at least, that depending on how they want to tap into that, he could come in and wipe out the Kangs and take their resources or power or anything like that. You do have the hunt for Wanda kind of thing, but I think there's a lower likelihood on that, just because it doesn't seem like Elizabeth Olsen wants to come back whatsoever. You do have Galactus set up, and you've kind of proven that he is kind of easily defeated. So Doom could easily kind of go steal his power now, or even do something with the Silver Surfer. But we've even had him interacting with Franklin. So he could be using Franklin, and that's why they kind of had that scene set up to eventually get to a point where I for sure think they're going to use Loki as the Beyonder in this. I don't think they're going to do a literal Beyonder. I think they're going to use Loki for that place. So I more likely see him using Franklin in order to get to Loki and try to get that power.
Very fair. Andy, what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'd always put a theory out there, a similar thing in terms of the start, that if they wanted to tie up the Kang storyline and not really ever go back to it, then you just have Doom show up at that meeting that we see at the end of Ant-Man, the post-credit scene, and he just wipes out the council of Kangs or steals their power, and they're over and done with. That would be a good way to introduce just how immense Doctor Doom is into this film. I do see Wanda returning, but only for Secret Wars. I know she's not keen on it, but I don't think you'd leave Wanda's storyline as it is. I think they convince her to come back and do one more thing just to tie it up. So I can see her playing maybe that Sue Storm role of his wife or something, but in Secret Wars instead, rather than Doomsday. But in order to get to that, you could have him wipe out the Kangs. I don't think they will. I just think he's been going around the multiverse, like taking people's powers, and the ultimate goal was to get to our universe and then convince everyone to go with him. And he sort of like temporarily uses everyone's power to take Loki's power. I don't like that ending for Loki, I have to say, because the way that they did the Loki TV series, Loki is in my, if we were talking about TV series, is in my top 3 MCU projects. And I don't want that ending for Loki, but I get the feeling that Loki is not going to get his happy ending here. And that to make that step up, he's going to basically wipe out Loki and steal his power and then be the one that basically gets to manipulate the multiverse.
Interestingly enough, that Ultron photo, I meant to mention also that Kang was a player in the Secret Wars comics, and he kind of led the group of villains against the group of heroes who are all kind of playing into the Beyonders schemes. And then Kang is killed by Ultron, under the order of Dr. Doom. So that is a really interesting alignment there with Kang. Surely we're going to get a scene of Dr. Doom beating Kang after they set up the Council of Kangs. And one way or another, he's going to make Kang seem like just nothing, to give himself a nice, like, hey, I'm the big bad here. And it's interesting that even did play into Secret Wars. Doom killing Kang with Ultron. He even revives Kang at the end, like Atom by Atom, and sends him on his way. It's super strange, but he does play a role. Yeah, Ulysses Claw, really weird character to be a stepping stone in the comics to get to that power level. Here's one cool thing. So we were talking about Avengers versus X-Men. Of course, they're going to come back together and kind of be a team to fight Doom by the end of this, right? This is Secret Wars, and this is the X-Men and the Avengers sitting down to kind of scheme and say, we have to go stop Dr. Doom. This is after he got his power cosmic. He might have got the Beyonders powers at this point, but we're going to see the Avengers and the X-Men team up by the end of Doomsday, right?
Oh, well, I want to say for sure, but I kind of feel like we're bringing back like this old X-Men team for one, the nostalgia payout and that big paycheck. But I think they're using it as a way to show stakes to the multiverse and like the risk of losing universes that we actually care about into an incursion. So I can definitely see them getting wiped out and maybe getting a few left behind, but I don't see a full Avengers and a full X-Men team moving forward from it.
Yeah, Andy.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. I'm expecting quite a few of that X-Men team to die in Doomsday. I'm expecting Magneto and Professor X to be ended in this film, along with a good chunk of the X-Men. So maybe a couple that are left at the end to join the Avengers and realize that they weren't the threat, but by then it's too late and most of them are gone.
Yeah. As an Easter egg, I could see this scene as they're sitting here discussing. Dr. Doom just blows up the whole room. Super powerful Dr. Doom now. And then we got Captain America kind of facing off against Dr. Doom at the end of this. Obviously, that seems like that could align closely with the MCU, especially after the Steve Rogers thing. But Captain America versus RDJ is probably what it's gonna come down to, right? We're gonna get a nice 1v1 brawl, I could see. This image has to do with Dr. Doom's origin. We don't actually have to get into that, but at the end of Secret Wars, after everything was all solved, he told Captain America, he's like, all right, well, now I'm going to go find my mom. I'm going to go figure her. She's in hell right now. Mephisto has her. And a few years later is when Triumph and Torment came out. And that is a buddy cop mission to hell with Doctor Strange and Dr. Doom going to infiltrate Mephisto's realm and save Dr. Doom's mother. And that is something I think we'll definitely get in Doomsday. Obviously, we're going to get Dr. Doom origin stuff in Doomsday, whatever that is. But that's one of his main things as Dr. Doom, is his origin story, his mom, saving his mom from hell. So
one of Marvel's best storylines.
It's such a fun little comic, yeah. Has so much to do with each of their characters, and Dr. Doom's like figuring out that he needs to blend magic and tech. Like that's all Triumph and Torment right there. This is interesting. His throne in the modern Secret Wars is a tree. So we're talking about him grabbing the time. Loki's holding the tree together. Well, when he becomes Emperor God Doom in the modern Secret Wars, his throne is an actual tree. So that could align with that tree of time and Loki and becoming Emperor God Doom, right?
New throne.
Right? Just speculation. This is the Cabal from the modern Secret Wars. So do you think Thanos will play any role at all, Andy, in this? Like maybe a thorn in Doom's side? Maybe they would need the Infinity Gauntlet to solve the incursions. Is there going to be like a weird Cabal group of villains that are a thorn in the heroes' sides and Dr. Doom's sides? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it a few times, to be fair, but I absolutely believe we're going to get that shot from the comics where Doom rips out Thanos' spine or rips out his skeleton from his flesh just to show his power. I absolutely believe, because I know that like so many people are coy on whether saying they're going to make secret cameos in Doomsday or Secret Wars and stuff, but I know Josh Brolin kind of slipped up and he said that he recorded some lines and we would have to wait and see if it was for that or not. So I absolutely expect to see Thanos pop up here and to have Doom just straight up murder him.
Spine rip. Are we going to get the spine rip? That's the one scene.
Can they do it while keeping it PG-13 is the question, though.
Right? Well, if there's no blood, you could do it if it's just his skin deteriorating away, like the way Black Adam did that in his movie. He grabbed someone and he's like melted down to bone.
That's a good point. It would establish him as a very high threat. I mean, our whole last saga was about how powerful Thanos was, and if you just murder him while he's got the Infinity Gauntlet, it's kind of shows your strength.
Right. Sheriff Strange. He's the right-hand dude of Doctor Doom in the Secret Wars comics. Doctor Strange in the MCU is going on a mission to do incursions. While he is Sheriff Strange in Battle World, he creates a secret corner, a little hidden Isle of Agamotto, where he kept this ship and these heroes that kind of retained their memories and transitioned from the 616 to Battle World. So what heroes do you think that I feel like that's going to happen? Like the world is going to switch over. Some people are going to remember. Some people are not going to remember. And I think a couple things come out of this. One, I think Doctor Strange will be that similar character with Doctor Doom in Secret Wars, at least. And two, I think he will have a secret little hidden spot that will kind of allow the heroes to win by the end of it. Does all that stuff sound like it can match?
Yeah, I mean, ever since Multiverse of Madness, where he saw the Illuminati for himself, I always thought the next time that we see him, he's going to kind of carry that idea over and kind of form his own little Illuminati. So I could see him kind of doing something like that.
Yeah. Andy, what about the characters that remember? That's got to be like Shang-Chi, Shuri, Doctor Strange, hopefully Spider-Man. It could be Thor. You got Star-Lord in this picture even, but kind of what you want is kind of your main protagonists to kind of have that role in Secret Wars, right? So you're going to want your headliners on there. Whoever that is.
It seems like it's going to be more likely the strongest newer members of the Avengers lineup or what we've had since Endgame, isn't it? Rather than anyone older like Hulk or Star-Lord or anything like that. It does seem like it's going to be I would say Strange, Captain Marvel, Spider-Man, Shuri, and then there's a few that they then get back in and Strange works and magic and gets them to remember and gets them back on side rather than having 6 to 10 of them that remember. I reckon 3 or 4, and then Strange does some stuff and gets a few of them back on side to remember, and then they go from there building up and challenge Doom.
For sure. Okay, well, we got to say goodbye to Tyler. Dude, thank you so much for coming in. It was a pleasure. And hopefully we'll have you on again, dude, and stay in contact. But I appreciate you showing up.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me, guys. This was a joy and a pleasure. So, anytime you want me back, I'm down.
Sweet, dude. Well, have a good night, and thank you.
Cheers,
again.
bud.
Cheers.
All right, Andy, just a few more for us. Doom killing Strange. I got that image up here, but whatever. The Infinity Gauntlet.
Actually, so you go back to the Killing Strange bit because there's a bit that we're not going to get in any of the in Secret Wars that I would so love to see because I love it from the comics. But obviously, when he kills Strange, his astral form actually is hunting for someone to go into to help him achieve his goal of beating Doom, and he chooses Frank Castle, the Punisher. And he's so annoying to Frank. Frank absolutely hates him. And just the fact I'd love to see, obviously, Strange Astral Form going to Frank, and especially the John Berthel version of Punisher that we get as well. I could just see it in my head of Strange nattering away in his head, and John Berthel's shouting at him out loud, and everyone's looking at him like he's crazy because they don't know that he's in there. And obviously in the comics he ends up blowing himself up just to get rid of Strange because he's pissing him off that much. I mean, we're not going to get that, but that would just be so funny to me to have Doctor Strange inside Frank Castle's head and John Berthel just playing that role to perfection. It would be amazing.
Right. Not only that, he kills Sheriff Strange right after he killed the Cyclops when Cyclops was the Phoenix Force. He just snaps that dude's neck. The Infinity Gauntlet. Do you think the Infinity Gauntlet will show up? Because I feel like the heroes might want to use that. At least I guarantee, I mean, I'm 90% confident that they'll mention the Infinity Gauntlet. One person, if they don't use it, one person's going to be like, hey, maybe we should get the stones and snap our fingers in some way.
Yeah, I think it's something they play into. Whether that's like how Thanos shows up and Doom just, like, as we said, rips his spine out and then throws the Infinity Gauntlet away, and they sort of search for it afterwards and try and use it. But again, Doom shows his power by neutralizing it somehow. Yeah, could play into it for a small part.
Yeah. Franklin Richards actually, he controls Galactus in Secret Wars. So we have a connection in the MCU with Galactus and Franklin, obviously. Galactus wanted Franklin. That was what the movie was about. And Franklin actually kills the Thing as Galactus. Controlling Galactus kills the Thing as this. So not much to dive into there, but there is a connection with Franklin and Galactus. Just kills the Thing, who's this giant thing who's supposed to hold this wall up in Secret Wars. Is pretty crazy. We got the spine rip, and that's all the images, all the topics. That's our little Doomsday speculation and all whatever else we talked about DCU. So yeah, any closing thoughts, bro?
I am getting excited for it. Like I said, like the last couple of weeks, the Infinity War and Endgame trailers have been playing like on TikTok and stuff like that, and it kind of gets me feeling like, right, I'm kind of ready for a bit of hype. And then the build up to a trailer coming, and yep, obviously the leaked trailer that's come out, and those that have maybe seen the little Steve Rogers one that's been before Avatar and stuff, it's not a full trailer. Like, I don't know, maybe some people were expecting and stuff like that, but it does start to build the juices again and to get hyped up. It's still a year away, which is unbelievable actually, that the hype's going to be starting from a year away. But at the same point, I am going to be excited for it. I can't wait. Like, Doom Messiah has moved out the way to give it its only spot because they were going head to head before, and now that's going to come out a couple of months earlier. So we've got a clear run all the way through to Doomsday. I'm a little upset that we haven't had much build up to it in terms of like the projects don't really seem to be like, obviously we've got Spider-Man. How much that's going to set up, we don't know. It's going to set up a lot, but at the same point, yeah, I think once this trailer, the full proper trailer drops online, not in like the 3 or 4 we're getting before Avatar, but once a proper trailer drops, I think the next year is going to be nothing but hype.
For sure. I'm still excited too, because it's the Russo brothers. Very gimmicky, sure. Marvel doesn't really deserve our full trust like before, sure. But it's the Russo brothers. They're 4 for 4 in Marvel. Big time. Like, they have just some of the best. What is it? 3? Winter Soldier, Infinity Game, and Endgame. It's just those 3. Oh, and Civil War.
I was to say Civil War, yeah.
Yeah, 4 for 4. So I think there's no reason they can't give us a solid Avengers movie. And I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. DCU 2, all of it. It looks great. We have a bright future ahead of us as nerds, and we will cover it.
Next year is a fucking awesome year for films and stuff. So
insane. So we'll definitely be there to discuss all of it. Thank you for joining us. Andy, thank you for joining us. And we'll see you next time on Why So Sidious, a nerd. Yeah, dude, that went way